Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a subject you actually asked us to dig into, which is great. You sent over a really interesting stack of sources about critical thinking. So our mission, like always, is to wade through all that material, pull out the really key takeaways, and basically give you a shortcut to being well-informed on something this important. You know, it really feels like we're just swimming in information these days.
Oh, absolutely. Constantly.
And let's be real, a lot of misinformation too, right? So critical thinking, it's moved beyond being just a nice-to-have skill.
Mm-hmm.
It feels pretty essential now, just for getting through the day, making better choices, even for, our relationships.
Definitely.
Oh,
And we see it institutionally, too. Professors are designing assignments specifically to gauge critical thinking.
right. And with all the AI-generated content popping up, telling fact from fiction, that's a whole new challenge.
It really is.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've basically boiled it down to 5 actionable tips from the sources, drawing on some leading experts that can genuinely help sharpen your mind. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so tip number 1, analyzing the credibility of your sources. Now, I know this sounds super basic, like, yeah, obviously, but honestly, with the speed everything comes at us online, it's probably the step we skip most often, don't you think?
I absolutely think so. It's foundational. If the information you start with isn't solid, well, anything you build on top of that is going to be shaky, isn't it?
That's a good way to put it.
Critical thinking really has to start with asking, where did this information actually come from? It's not just basic, it's non-negotiable, really. And you need to look beyond just the headline or the first sentence.
Right.
Highly credible sources. You're usually looking at published books, peer-reviewed online journals, websites ending in .edu, universities, colleges, and official government sites. Where you need to be more careful is with things like, say, wikis or blogs that aren't tied to academic institutions. They can be starting points, maybe,
Sometimes, yeah.
but they often lack that rigorous review process. You'd want to verify anything you find there from multiple, more reliable sources. What's fascinating here is just how crucial this often overlooked first step is. It underpins everything else.
Okay, that makes total sense. So here's something practical for you listening. The next time you're reading, maybe a news article, maybe just scrolling social media, force yourself to pause for just a second. Ask, who actually wrote this? Do they have any real background or expertise in this area? What kind of website is hosting it? Is it a known news organization, an academic journal, or is it just, an opinion piece on someone's personal blog?
Crucial distinction.
And also, when was it published or last updated? Is this info still current, or is it maybe 5 years old and potentially outdated?
Yeah, relevance is key.
And finally, maybe the biggest one. What evidence are they actually giving you? Is it solid? Is it just anecdotal? Or maybe just a chain of opinions? If you start asking these questions consistently, it almost becomes automatic. You'll naturally start filtering out the unreliable stuff and building your understanding on, a much stronger foundation.
Exactly. It becomes a habit.
All right, moving on to tip 2. This one, for me, is where it gets really interesting because it's about how our own brains can, trick us sometimes. We've got Daniel Kahneman to thank for a lot of this, the Nobel Prize winner. He talks about System 1 and System 2 thinking. Could you maybe break that down?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic model. So imagine your brain operating on 2 different systems. System 1 is like the automatic gearbox. It's fast, intuitive, unconscious.
The gut reaction.
Exactly. It handles, believe it or not, something like 98% of our thinking throughout the day. Quick judgments, reflexes, pattern recognition.
Wow, 98%.
Yeah, it's huge. Then you have System 2. That's the manual gearbox. It's slow, deliberate, conscious, analytical, and rational. It requires real effort.
Okay.
This is what kicks in when you're solving a complex problem, learning something new, or making a really considered decision.
So most of the time, we're just running on autopilot. That's kind of wild when you think about it.
It is. And here's the catch, the really crucial part. Kahneman argues that our conscious System 2 is often, in his words, a slave to the impulses of the automatic System 1.
A slave? How so?
Well, it means those quick unconscious judgments and feelings from System 1 often shape our beliefs and decisions before System 2 even gets a proper chance to analyze things rationally. And this is where cognitive biases creep in. These are basically systematic patterns of deviation from rational judgment. We all have them, where, as Dan O'Reilly puts it, predictably irrational.
Predictably irrational. I like that.
It fits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Take something like the liking bias. You might unconsciously favor someone who seems similar to you. Maybe they went to the same school or like the same music. In a job interview, for example, that bias could mean you form a positive impression within the first 10 minutes based on that feeling of similarity without objectively assessing their skills. System 1 jumped in, and System 2 might just rationalize that initial feeling later.
I can definitely see that happening.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding these built-in biases, these mental shortcuts and how they pull our strings is absolutely vital if we want to make truly conscious critical decisions.
Okay, that's powerful. So here's the practical exercise for you. Next time you have a significant decision to make, especially if it involves other people, consciously hit the brakes. Engage System 2. Ask yourself, really ask, am I letting my emotions or maybe some preconceived idea drive this? And be honest. What are my biases here? What shortcuts might my brain be taking?
Self-awareness is key.
Then actively look for information that might challenge your initial gut feeling. Go against the grain of your first reaction. That deliberate pause, that moment of reflection, it helps you kind of detach from those immediate biases and allows your more rational thinking to actually take the wheel.
It creates space for better judgment.
Okay, so we've talked about checking sources and checking ourselves, but critical thinking is also constructive, right? It's about building solid arguments.
Exactly. Not just about defense, it's also about offense. In a good way. Building logical connections.
And the sources you sent, especially that one focused on academic writing, laid out some really key ways we reason logically, often without even, labeling them.
That's right. These are the tools in our mental toolkit for making sense of things. Let's break down a few. First up, inference.
Okay.
Inference is essentially about drawing new conclusions based on the information you already have, is connecting the dots. So the example given was, if you know Carol can ride a bicycle well, you might infer she'd probably find it easier to learn to ride a motorbike than someone who's never ridden a bike, because she already has the balance part down.
Right. Makes sense.
The key question to ask yourself when inferring is this conclusion a truly logical jump from the facts I have? Or am I maybe reading too much into it? Is there another possible explanation?
Good check. What's next?
Then there's generalization. This is when you form a broad conclusion based on observing several specific instances or facts.
Okay.
Now, for a generalization to be valid, not just a stereotype, you need solid evidence, usually from a large number of cases. For example, if data shows that, say, 90% of women in a specific company A, are paid less than men in very similar roles, you can reasonably generalize that there appears to be gender-based pay inequality at that company.
Right. Specific to that context.
Exactly. But you have to be careful. Ask, do I have enough representative examples to support this broader claim? Or are you maybe falling into a hasty generalization based on just one or two anecdotes? Are there exceptions I should consider?
That hasty generalization trap is easy to fall into online.
Very easy. Okay, next, analogy. This involves making comparisons between two things that are similar in some ways but fundamentally different in others, usually to clarify a point about one of them.
Like metaphors, almost.
Sort of, but used for reasoning. The classic example is comparing society to a human body. You argue that just like organs must work together for the body to function, different groups in society need to cooperate.
I see.
When you use an analogy, or see one used, you need to ask, okay, how are these two things genuinely similar? But also, where do they differ significantly? And what specific point is this comparison actually trying to prove or illustrate? Analogies can be powerful, but also misleading if stretched too far.
Right. And the last one was cause and effect. This feels obvious, but I bet it's tricky.
It seems obvious, but you're right, it's a major source of logical errors. Cause and effect is simply understanding that one event happens as a direct result of a preceding event. The big danger here is confusing correlation things happening in sequence or together with actual causation.
Ah, the classic correlation versus causation.
Exactly. So the source used the example. After transpiration occurs, water evaporating from plants, it's expected to rain under the right conditions. That's a known cause and effect link in meteorology.
Okay.
Versus the classic superstition, every time I watch my car, it rains.
Guilty. Feels true sometimes.
It feels true. But logically, washing your car doesn't cause rain. It's just an unrelated sequence, a coincidence. So the critical question is always, is there direct evidence that event A caused event B? Could B have happened anyway, even without A? And this raises an important question. How often do we really examine the cause and effect links we assume in our daily lives? How many are just habits of thought or coincidence?
That car wash one really hits home. Okay, so consciously using these different reasoning methods, inference, generalization, analogy, cause and effect, helps us build much stronger, more logical connections in our own thinking and spot weaknesses in others' arguments too.
Precisely. It sharpens your analytical skills significantly.
All right, tip 4. This feels like a big one, especially when you hear academics talk about learning. It's metacognition.
Mm-hmm.
The sources defined it, I think it was Rivas, Saiz, and Ossa, as knowledge about knowledge itself, which sounds a bit abstract.
It can sound that way, but it's actually very practical. Put simply, metacognition is being aware of your own thinking processes.
All right.
It's understanding how you learn best, how you usually approach problems, how you make decisions. And the goal of that awareness is so you can consciously improve those processes.
So it's like stemming outside your own head and watching yourself think.
That's a great way to put it. Its purpose is really to help you understand, say, why you struggled with a particular task or why you made a certain error, and then figure out how to correct it next time. It involves what we call self-regulation, planning how you'll tackle something, monitoring your thinking while you're doing it, and then evaluating how effective your thinking was afterwards. What's fascinating here is that ability to step back and observe your own mind at work. It really is like unlocking a superpower for learning and problem solving.
Okay, I want that superpower. So how do we practice it? What are the actionable steps?
Great question. So when you're facing a complex task or problem, here are a few metacognitive strategies you can try. First, before you even dive in, ask yourself some meta-knowledge questions like, okay, honestly, how much do I already know about this topic? Or are the instructions I have clear enough, or do I need to ask for clarification? And maybe, how will I actually know if I'm on the right track or if my final answer is good?
Planning ahead, basically.
Exactly. Planning your thinking. Second, try a think aloud strategy. You can literally talk yourself through your thought process out loud, or maybe do it with a colleague you trust.
Saying it out loud.
Yeah. Verbalize the steps. Okay, first I need to understand X. I seem to be stuck on this part. Maybe I need to look up more information about Y. Saying it loud helps you monitor your own decision-making and spot the exact points where you're getting confused or making assumptions.
I can see how that would work, like rubber duck debugging for programmers.
Precisely. And third, and this is crucial, reflect deeply on your mistakes. Don't just brush them off and move on. Take a moment to analyze why the error happened. Was it a misunderstanding, a flawed assumption, a calculation mistake? And then think, what specific steps can I take next time to avoid making that same mistake?
Yeah.
This deliberate self-correction loop is the absolute core of metacognition.
Thinking about your thinking, planning it, monitoring it, and correcting it.
Got it. Okay, our final tip, number 5. This kind of brings everything together, I think. It's about asking the right kind of questions and actively seeking out different viewpoints.
Yes, absolutely essential. Asking good questions is such a clear sign of critical thinking, whether you're, in a classroom or a boardroom. It pushes everyone beyond just scratching the surface. And it's also a powerful antidote to groupthink, isn't it? That tendency for everyone in a group to just conform and not challenge anything.
Couldn't agree more. And one of the sources mentioned Adam Ipsen, who really emphasizes how leaders can cultivate critical thinking in their teams simply by shifting the type of questions they ask.
How so?
Well, instead of closed questions that just invite a yes or no, like, is this the correct approach? Ask open-ended questions that require genuine reflection and exploration.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Questions like, what are the underlying assumptions we're making with this idea? Or how could we actually design a test for your theory? Or maybe, what are the real pros and cons of this choice? Thinking beyond the obvious ones. Another good one is, what alternative solutions or perspectives might we be overlooking entirely?
Those definitely force you to think more deeply.
They do. They open up the conversation. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, fostering an environment where curiosity is encouraged, where asking challenging questions is normal, is just as important as developing the individual critical thinking skills themselves. The culture matters.
That's a really important point. Culture enables the skill.
Okay, so for you listening, here's a simple but powerful exercise. The very next time you're in a group, setting a meeting, a discussion, even a casual debate, make it your goal to ask at least one good open-ended question. Try to frame it in a way that gently challenges an assumption or invites a different viewpoint.
Yeah,
like if a plan is proposed, you could ask, have we really thought through how this might affect the marketing team, for example? Or what potential downsides haven't we discussed yet? What could go wrong?
Good ones. Constructively critical.
Exactly. And beyond just asking questions, actively seek out and even promote diversity in teams and discussions. Bringing together people with different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives naturally challenges conformity and sparks those crucial critical conversations. Diverse viewpoints are fuel for critical thinking. Hashtag recap.
Phew. Okay, that was a lot, but really valuable stuff. So just to quickly recap the 5 big tips for sharpening your critical thinking. 1. Always scrutinize the credibility of your sources. Where's the info coming from?
Foundational.
2. Recognize your own cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts, and consciously engage your slow, deliberate thinking, system 2, for important decisions.
Know thyself.
3. Get familiar with different types of logical reasoning, inference, generalization, analogy, cause and effect, so you can build stronger arguments and spot weak ones.
Your reasoning toolkit.
4. Practice metacognition. That means actively thinking about, monitoring, and evaluating your own thought processes so you can continuously improve them.
Thinking about thinking.
And 5. Ask those open-ended questions, challenge assumptions, and actively seek out diverse perspectives to avoid groupthink and deepen understanding.
Foster curiosity. Hashtag outro.
So the big takeaway here really is that critical thinking. It's not some fixed trait you either have or don't. It's absolutely a skill. It's a muscle.
Like any muscle.
And it can be learned, trained, and strengthened over time. It's really a continuous journey of learning and developing. So don't feel like you have to master all 5 tips overnight. Start small, pick one that resonates with you, and practice it consistently.
Small steps add up.
Exactly. Remember that analogy. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you challenge it, the more you exercise it with these kinds of thinking skills, the sharper and more effective it will become. So keep challenging, keep questioning, keep growing.
Well said.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Just consider for a moment. How might applying even one of these techniques consistently, say, actively questioning your assumptions, or pausing to engage slow thinking, how might that change a key decision you have coming up next week?
Yeah.
Or even just change how you read the news tomorrow morning?
It can have a ripple effect.
It really could. If you found this deep dive useful, maybe share it with a friend, someone else who loves to learn, or who you think could really benefit from sharpening these essential skills.